to be crowded and tight. Trouble looms around every corner. When the action heats up on the track, tempers flare off the track. Today, who will conquer this rough road course? The always aggressive Robbie Gordon with one road course win this year? Al Unser Jr. is the only man with a chance to catch Jacques Villeneuve in the points race, but he'll have to drive the wheels off his Penske. Michael Andretti is always exciting. He's led the most laps of any driver, but today he looks for win number 2. Bobby Rahal has been the model of consistency, but has yet to get that elusive win. They will all be chasing Jacques Villeneuve. With his smooth driving style, the young Canadian can clinch the title here in his homeland. It's a beautiful, crystal clear day in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. The Indy cars are ready for the Molson Indy Vancouver. I am Paul Page, and boy, do we have a fight in the PPG Championship right now. Not just for the top spot, but all the way through the top 10. But let's consider for a moment that championship battle. The only way it becomes a battle between Jacques Villeneuve, the current points leader, and Al Unser Jr. is an appeal over his disqualification from the race at Portland. That appeal will not be heard until the 18th of September. So if you assume he wins it, then Al Unser Jr. is very much in the points fight, and it's Jacques Villeneuve's championship to lose. As a matter of fact, he must finish here 6th or better if he wants to finish with a championship here in his home country. Now, there are other stories all up and down the grid. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, there are 27 other challengers against Villeneuve here on the streets of Vancouver today, and all of them have got great hopes. The immediate challenge for Villeneuve will come from right alongside. Jimmy Vasser, for the 4th time this year as a front row starter. The 3rd time, in fact, he's been side by side with Jacques in the front row. There are always concerns on a street circuit. So much concrete. Vasser says you've just got to stay out of trouble. That's one of the keys, but there are many other keys. For that, let's go to Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, today, Scott Goodyear, the Canadian, starts 4th, and it's the best ever qualifying position for Honda on a road course. Now, asked about his major concerns today for the race, without hesitation, he said, these right here, tire management. If a driver uses too much throttle, spins these tires, heats up the surface, it could be a big concern for the drivers by the end of the race. Paul?
And the challenge here today is a tight, tough, and Derek, somewhat controversial circuit.
And for whatever reason, IndyCar racing over the years here at Vancouver has become a contact sport. Now, there are 2 ways to be successful. Last year, Al Unser Jr. was virtually incident-free, caught a good yellow, went on to win. Michael Andretti, on the other hand, had 2 unscheduled pit stops, went to the back twice, hit 11 different cars, and still made it onto the podium. Now, because it is so tight here and difficult to pass, drivers to a man are not so worried about who they may hit. They're more worried about who may hit them.
And consider the impact on the championship. Now, we've got a special surprise for you here today. P.J. Jones won in about everything he's ever driven. Now you're looking at Indy cars.
Yep, we're just about ready, about a month away from testing the Eagle chassis and the Toyota engine.
All right, but you're here to help the Deuce.
That's right.
What's going on?
Well, we got 6 onboard cameras, pit-to-car communication all day long on ESPN2.
And you're the commentator.
That's it.
Oh, boy. Watch us, listen to us, put a second TV up, keep track of PJ. All right, now let's take a look at the starting grid. The pole sitter with a new track record, Jacques Villeneuve. He can clinch the championship from his 5th pole of the season alongside Jimmy Vasser. He's finished 9th or better in every race but one since Indy. In row 2, it's Bobby Rahal, the fastest Mercedes-powered qualifier. And Scott Goodyear. He finished in the top 10 in all 5 races here at Vancouver. Now on row number 3, Michael Andretti, one of only 2 drivers ever to have won here. His wins were in 91 and 92. And Teo Fabi, his highest finish of the year was 3rd on the street circuit at Long Beach. Row 4, Robbie Gordon, last year's Vancouver pole sitter. He went on to finish 2nd. And Gilles de Ferran, his best finish of the season came 2 weeks ago at Loudon. Row 5 is Al Unser Jr., the defending champion, and a 3-time winner here. Scott Pruitt is alongside. He's already had a 2nd and 2/3 on street circuits this season. In row 6, Mauricio Guzman and Paul Tracy. The 7th row, the Fittipaldis, Christian and Emerson. The 8th row, Brian Herta and Andre Ribeiro. Row 9, Stefan Johansson and Alessandro Zampedri. The 10th row, Adrian Fernandez, Raul Boisel. Eliseo Salazar and Parker Johnstone make up row number 11. Carlos Guerrero and Juan Manuel Fangio in the 12th row. The 13th row, Brian Till and Hiro Matsushita. And the 14th row, Marco Greco and Mimo Chiatarella. So that's the way they line up here. Let's take a look at the race analysis as the field has acknowledged the start of the engines and has begun its pace lap. 100 laps here today. The track record set back by Scott Goodyear in '93, and the fuel window lap 22 to lap 36. And in today's field, the chassis, the engines, the tires, there they are. Now we'll take a look at the circuit here at Pacific Place in Molson, Indy, Vancouver. 9 turns on a 1.703 mile circuit. Those are the passing zones in blue. And so where are the trouble zones? The ones in red, exactly the same. So we're set to go. 2 more races to go in the IndyCar season. A great points fight all the way down through the top 10. And there's Jacques Villeneuve, followed by Jimmy Vasser. They'll move into the rows of 2 very quickly here. Remember, a number of surface changes on this track. They will go alongside the stadium here, which is covered over. There they are in that area right now. No rain in the forecast here today, but that's been a critical area when it's rained in the past. And like most of the street circuits, it's just rung with concrete barriers, which can end a day in an eye blink. So it can make a marvelous formula for just an incredible run here today.
One of the difficulties here all weekend, Paul, is it has taken 2 to 3 full laps at racing speed to bring the tires up to optimum working temperature. That has been a concern, particularly for the back half of the grid. They may get involved in somebody else's incident.
Johnny Rutherford at the wheel of the PPG pace car. That's the pit exit. He turned down. The rest of the field into alignment now. There's the turn on to the pit straight. And the start-finish line lies just ahead with the green flag ready to come out. And here we go. Villeneuve sweeps across the front. Vasser into second. Ray Hall comes up into third. Rest of the field safely through. First set of very slight turns. A hairpin lies ahead. Now under serious braking, Villeneuve continues the lead. Michael Andretti challenges Goodyear on the outside. DeFerrin comes around Al Unser Jr. Christian Fittipaldi makes a move too, but gets caught up on the exit of the corner.
Obviously a first gear hairpin. We saw cars literally stop there, but look at Scott Goodyear under attack.
Look at DeFerrin. Look at the rest of them. We've got 3 cars involved in a situation there. DeFerrin got airborne, almost pitched head-on into the wall. I think he got the tire barrier, though. Now, they do have a chicane area. Well, this is the chicane. There's an escape road there. And we're on a full-course yellow here on the very first lap. They may actually route the field down. Tracy involved. That's Scott Pruitt just ahead, just behind Paul Tracy.
Everything all right on the car, Scott?
Fine on the car,
Heard a conversation there. We have 2-way with Jim McGee and Scott Pruitt, who's definitely involved there. And now the indication is, and there it is, we're going to red flag this race. We're going to stop it, put it into realignment. So an incident right after the hairpin as they made the turn back to the first chicane. Gil DeFerrin got punted to the outside and stopped Paul Tracy, DeFerrin, and Scott Pruitt. So the field under a full course yellow. Here is Brian Herta's view of this situation.
That's Al Unser Jr. right ahead of him. No, that was Emerson. Al Jr.'s up the road just a little bit, but it was Al Jr. who made contact with Gil DeFerrin, punts him off the road.
On board with Tracy here. DeFerrin in the situation right there on the left.
And Tracy's an innocent bystander here. The traffic jam backs up. He plows right into the back of Robbie Gordon, stalls his engine, and we do not know now whether there is damage to the rear of Robbie Gordon's car.
So now they are red flagged, stopped here, and nothing we have seen counts because it's first lap. Everybody that can restart will realign. We'll start the thing all over again. Today's coverage of the IndyCars on ESPN is brought to you by Molson Ice from Canada, the land where ice was born. By Toyota Motorsports, our minds are always racing. and by Firestone, America's tire since 1900.
Polar Beach by Arctic Ocean. Music by Metallica and Hole. Light Show by Mother Nature. And Ice by Molson. Molson Ice. The Molson Ice Polar Beach Park. Labor Day weekend. Also,
the mechanic who has done so much to put this car back together took the gearbox off the crash car and managed to put it together and back on this car. And it has been a hot, sweaty day for Steve so far, and the race hasn't even started.
So they pulled the backup car into position, but they had a lot of work to do on it. And this is the situation that set up the red flag. Now, take a look at the approach of the turn.
DeFerrin's on the outside, on the inside of the chicane. Now watch Algeria hit the curb. Hits the curb, goes forward, and then punts Gilles DeFerrin into the fence.
So Gilles DeFerrin ready to go in the backup car. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, Jim Hall has overseen this crew, changed shocks, gears, suspension, tires, wings, brake pads, steering wheel, seat. Jim, this crew did a marvelous job, but the concern now is, how good do you think this car will work for your driver?
Well, we can't be sure. The cars are not identical. They're very close, but there are some differences. So we tried to put the same setup on this car as we had on the race car in the time we had. We changed a lot of things. I think we did about 90% of it. And maybe the other 10% won't make that much difference. I hope so anyway.
Would you have been better served if that car had been more prepared, more race ready?
Well, I guess that's a possibility. It depends on your point of view and where you're going. I think it was pretty darn close. We made some changes in the other car this morning, and I guess we could have gone to the trouble to put those on, which we didn't.
Well, that's the story from Jim Hall. It's a yeoman-like job for this crew. Jan?
Well, Gary, first of all, IndyCar did allow the teams to change tires if they like, because normally you have to start the race on the tires that you qualify on. Now, we checked every car as it rolled out. The only cars that changed were those who ran Firestone tires. First of all, Tasman. They started the race originally on the soft tires. They have now gone to the harder primary tires. But Scott Pruitt and Alessandro Zenpetri, they've gone here to the sticker tire, to the very soft Firestone, to try for some very quick performance to pick up some positions. Paul?
Now they should come back into the rows of two alignment, everybody in their original position for qualification. As yet, we're not seeing that kind of lineup. Pace car, Johnny Rutherford at the wheel of that PPG pace car, pulled ahead a bit as they came out of this second chicane. And they still are scrubbing the tires as clean as they can get them. That tire story is going to be fascinating here today. So many good stories on the line in the Indy cars. As the pace car now off the course. One turn. And Jimmy Vasser seems to want to get a head start on everybody else. And Jacques Villeneuve has taken him through very slow. Now remember, he needs to get to the line first for a good start, and they're not going to accept it. The general rule is that you want the nose of the pole car to actually cross the line first. It wasn't going to happen there. The field doubled back on itself in the final turn. This is probably a pretty good move, though. It's going to get him single file for the start.
There's Gilles DeFerrin in that rebuilt car. I really am quite surprised that a front-running team like that do not have the car absolutely in race-ready trim for a situation just like this. They're just lucky it took so long to refuel the rest of the cars, because that's what took the delay. If Valvoline had fueled the cars in half the time, Gilles DeFerrin may not be in this race now in that spare car.
Race Day America on ESPN, the Indy cars in Vancouver, ready for a restart after a red flag with an accident involving 6 different cars, but puts them back in the original lineup. And then the green flag doesn't come out, the field not properly aligned. Let's see if they can do it better now. First time in the history of IndyCar that a backup car has been